Hey guys, sorry about the time between videos. Um, Life and work got chaotic, um, and I got tired. That's pretty much just what happened. It happens. Anyway, in my last video, I went ahead and talked about some of the obstructions, some of the obstacles in being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, uh, or rather getting that diagnosis and being able to do something with it. This video I would like to talk about some of the things that I found to be helpful. Um, so first off, for me, journals, they just really didn't work. So what would I use as a substitute for those? Um, Music, movies, and books, quotes, you know, look to your media, especially anything, I especially suggest music. Um, because you want anything that you can kind of collect without your guard being up, without really thinking about it, and to analyze the trend. In my case, 80-90% of all my music that I collected could be related to borderline personality disorder or bipolar 2, especially borderline personality disorder. So, um, a few mentions as it pertains to that. For You by Stained. Unforgiven by Metallica. Um, Head Above Water by Avril Lavigne. Scars by Papa Roach. Blurry by Puddle of Mud. There are a lot of them out there. A lot of people with borderline personality disorder end up going into theater and become artists, as far as painting, sculptures, um, music. I mean, just the any way in which they can kind of express what they're going through, in turn, what has generally caused them an enormous level of pain, and having very little way to kind of um, let it out, or share with people. It gives them that opportunity. So you're going to find a lot of media that you can find that trend in. And it works so much better than a journal because, like I said, it kind of pans around the disorder rather than trying to attack it head on, which the mind will almost guaranteed try to block and in order to protect itself. So that's one suggestion that I would make. Another is learn about the disorder. If you have borderline personality disorder and you start to research it, or you have a psychologist or somebody like that, if you think that you might have it, go ahead and have them read to you about the disorder. And if you have it, it will hit you like a ton of bricks. Now, that may seem pretty brutal, but remember, one of the current diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder is that they're 10 times more likely to be put on antipsychotics, which can have a permanent debilitating effect on the mind and the body. So, comparative to what is mainstream, though it may be considered to be a little unethical, I would still advise that as a method of diagnosing borderline. As it pertains to researching, a couple of names that I would like to go ahead and drop is Kati Mortan. The video that I watched that explained that you could have borderline personality disorder and bipolar disorder, that you didn't have to, it didn't have to be one or the other. You could have both. That was like a light bulb for me. I mean, basically, we just kept on trying to fit it all in one box, one convenient box. And it just was not, by trying to fit it into one box, we took a complex situation, made it complicated, frankly. And in that moment that I realized I could have both, it made both make sense, like immediately. And she talks about a lot of the, tries to dispel a lot of the myths or misconceptions of borderline personality disorder in her YouTube videos. So I definitely recommend checking her out. Another one is Dr. Daniel Fox. And he kind of helped me understand what I was doing as I progressed through my treatment, because he goes much more into depth and on all the details of borderline personality disorder, and there is a lot. Borderline personality disorder is probably one of the deepest, most expansive disorders you could ever research, and it has sort of imitative elements of practically every disorder you could find out there. So it's confusing as hell, and he does a really, really good job of explaining and laying out all those various details. I found that immensely helpful, while simultaneously a little traumatic, but like I said, if you have borderline personality disorder and you start to research it, you start listening to people describe it, it will hit you like a ton of bricks. So that's a really good way of helping you to get diagnosed, and then being able to help deal with what you're going through. Another is personality tests, particularly the Enneagram. And I think Helen Palmer was her name, wrote a version of the Enneagram in book format, and it was really, really, really helpful to me. One of the things I would strongly advise whenever you're doing self-diagnosis is don't look for 80% and think, okay, well, it's 80%. I mean, that's more than I usually get, so that must be right. Don't do that. 80, 90%, don't settle. But if it's 95, 98% on point, then that's going to be very, very valuable source for helping you to see the things that you may not see that well in of yourself. You may have to think about it in kind of interesting ways. But as I explained in previous video, and camouflaging my self-harm in the form of martial arts, you're gonna have to think it out. But the Enneagram I found to be extremely helpful when you are using personality tests in order to determine whether or not you might have borderline personality disorder or any other form of disorder. Keep in mind that you're not looking to take quizzes for the fun of it. What you want to do is you want to research each personality type as much as you can. And the more and more you research it, the more and more you'll probably find certain elements that don't quite match. And if there are enough of those, then just keep looking. But if there's only like one or two of those, then it tells you, okay, I'm really, really close, And it gives you and your psychologist, or just you, maybe you have some friends, family that are helping you out as well. Maybe. Unfortunately, a lot of people with borderline personality disorder don't have much of a support structure. But go ahead and use that as a way of saying, okay, well, I feel like this matches me, But this doesn't seem to match, or maybe the motives behind a certain aspect that's described doesn't seem to match very well. And go over that with them, because it's going to be more practical for you to be defensive about the things that aren't right than it is going to be for you to come up with the things that are correct, that you are really struggling with when you're trying to block out that awareness that has traumatized you. So that's another thing. If you do live in an area that offers borderline personality disorder treatment, especially group therapy, and it is acceptable for you to come in and join a group function without a diagnosis. That could be a really, really helpful tool. I don't know how often that is made readily available, though. You'll have to look into it yourself. But in any case, these are some things that I used that helped me out a lot, and hopefully they'll be able to help you out. Once again, I'll go ahead and include those two people I mentioned in the comments. And if you have any comments of your own, please feel free to chime in. See you guys in the next video.